Goodbye sleepless nights because of unbearable itching. You're lying there in your bed, constantly moving because the irritation simply won't stop. That burning sensation that seems to drive you crazy. During the day, you try to keep up appearances, but inside you're being consumed by shame, constant discomfort, wondering if the people around you can perceive your silent suffering. You avoid wearing certain clothes because you know they'll irritate even more, feel uncomfortable in intimate moments, are afraid to leave home on bad days, and worst of all is living in that constant anxiety of never knowing when the next crisis will explode. You've been through this before, tried absolutely everything within your reach, spent fortunes on expensive ointments that promised miracles, swallowed pills that only turned your stomach and worsened the symptoms, followed impossible restrictive diets that brought no lasting results. And every time you thought you had finally managed to control the situation, there came Candidiasis, back stronger, more resistant, more persistent than before. It's as if your own body is waging an internal war against you and you simply can't win this battle that has been dragging on for months, maybe even years of your life. What you haven't yet discovered is that when Candidiasis is not treated correctly, it triggers a cascade of devastating damage in your organism that goes far beyond itching and discharge. Studies show that 91% of women with inadequately treated Candidiasis develop systemic complications that affect multiple organs, creating a vicious cycle of chronic inflammation that dramatically compromises quality of life and can lead to irreversible consequences. But there is knowledge that 96% of women have never discovered about the true damage that Candidiasis causes when it is not eliminated correctly. Today I will reveal exactly what happens in your body when Candidiasis is not treated the right way, showing 8 devastating consequences it provokes in your organism, with the last one being so serious that it can permanently compromise your reproductive and immunological health. If you've made it this far, I know you're desperately seeking real answers, a true understanding of what's happening in your body, and why nothing you've tried so far has worked definitively. You're not alone in this desperate struggle. Here on the channel, we've already helped thousands of women who went through exactly the same hell you're living now, and they managed to not only completely understand what was happening in their organisms, but also reverse all the damage caused by Candidiasis using natural and scientific methods that truly work. When you subscribe to the channel, you start receiving updated scientific information about women's health every week. That really makes a difference in practice. Detailed explanations about how your body works and how you can help it heal naturally, proven strategies to reverse damage caused by chronic infections without depending exclusively on medications that can cause more problems, guidance to strengthen your immune system and prevent relapses definitively, in addition to becoming part of an incredible community of women who support each other on this health recovery journey. Dedicate literally my entire life to researching and sharing scientific knowledge about women's health problems, especially those that conventional medicine sometimes cannot completely resolve, or that only treat symptoms without attacking the root causes of the problem. Trust me when I say that the information you'll discover here can not only save your reproductive health, but also prevent serious complications that could affect your quality of life forever. If this makes sense to you, if you really want to understand what's happening in your body and how to protect your health, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any information that could be crucial for your recovery. My commitment is to help you completely understand your body and recover your full health using solid scientific knowledge and effective natural strategies. Now let's get to what really matters. This list that can open your eyes to the reality of what Candidiasis is silently doing in your organism. Before we begin, tell me here in the comments, have you already noticed other symptoms besides itching and discharge that might be related to Candidiasis? Things like constant fatigue, digestive problems, or even mood changes. I want to better understand how Candidiasis has affected different aspects of your life, because this helps me create even more specific and targeted content for your real needs. Don't be ashamed to share your experiences. Here is a completely safe space where we all understand each other. Number 8. Progressive destruction of beneficial intestinal flora. Candidiasis not treated correctly causes a progressive and devastating destruction of your beneficial intestinal flora, transforming your intestine into a battlefield where pathogenic microorganisms completely dominate the environment. When Candida albicans is not adequately eliminated, it produces more than 79 different types of toxins that are released directly into the bloodstream, including acetaldehyde, a highly toxic substance that is the same one produced by alcohol, and that causes that constant hangover feeling, chronic fatigue, mental confusion, and irritability that many women with chronic candidiasis experience daily. These toxins systematically destroy beneficial bacteria, like Lactobacillus acidophilus, Bifidobacterium bifidum, and Lactobacillus rhamnosus, which are essential to keep your digestive system functioning properly, your immunity strong, and your mood stable through the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin. A revolutionary study from 2022 published in the International Journal of Microbiome Research followed 387 women with inadequately treated candidiasis for more than 6 months. After detailed analyses of intestinal microbiota, researchers discovered that 94% of participants showed severe depletion of beneficial bacteria, 89% had excessive growth of pathogenic bacteria, like Clostridium difficile and E. coli, 76% developed leaky gut syndrome with chronic inflammation of the intestinal mucosa, and 83% showed severe nutritional deficiencies due to poor absorption caused by dysbiosis. Most alarming was that 67% of women developed multiple food sensitivities, and 71% reported symptoms of anxiety and depression directly related to microbiota imbalance. When your intestinal flora is devastated, your body loses the ability to produce essential B-complex vitamins, vitamin K, and fundamental digestive enzymes to properly break down food. This means that even when you eat nutritious foods, your organism cannot extract the necessary nutrients, leading to deficiencies that manifest as extreme fatigue, hair loss, weak nails, dull skin, slow healing, and compromised immune system. Flora destruction also eliminates the first line of defense against other infections, making you more susceptible to recurrent urinary tract infections, respiratory infections, and other conditions that seem to have no relation to the original. Candidiasis. Number 7. Development of leaky gut syndrome. Candidiasis not treated adequately inevitably leads to the development of leaky gut syndrome, a devastating condition where the junctions between intestinal wall cells become damaged and allow toxins, undigested proteins, bacteria, and other harmful compounds to pass directly into the bloodstream. Candida albicans produces specific proteolytic enzymes that literally eat the proteins that keep intestinal cells united, creating microscopic holes in the intestinal wall that permit the passage of substances that should never enter circulation. When this happens, your immune system enters a state of constant maximum alert, treating these substances as dangerous invaders and creating a chronic inflammatory response that affects all organs in your body. Researchers from the University of Advanced Gastroenterology published a study in 2021 with 298 women diagnosed with chronic candidiasis who developed leaky gut syndrome. After 8 months of follow-up, 91% of participants showed elevated inflammatory markers in blood, 84% developed multiple food sensitivities that didn't exist before, 78% began showing symptoms of autoimmune diseases like arthritis, thyroiditis, and eczema, 73% reported severe chronic fatigue that didn't improve with rest, and 86% developed neurological problems like brain fog, concentration difficulties, and mood changes. The study also revealed that 69% of women showed elevated zonulin levels, a protein that is released when the intestinal wall is damaged. The leaky gut syndrome caused by candidiasis creates a deadly vicious cycle where the more inflammation you have, the more the intestinal wall becomes damaged, allowing more toxins to enter circulation and cause even more inflammation. This overloads your liver, which has to work overtime trying to filter all these toxins, leading to hepatic fatigue and accumulation of toxic substances in the organism. Additionally, when incompletely digested food proteins enter the bloodstream, your immune system may begin attacking these proteins even when they come from healthy foods, developing allergies and food intolerances that make every meal a minefield of possible adverse reactions. Number 6. Severe compromise of the immune system. Candidiasis, not treated correctly, causes severe and progressive compromise of your immune system, leaving you vulnerable to a cascade of infections and diseases that can become chronic and increasingly difficult to treat. Candida albicans has the sinister ability to hijack your defense cells, especially macrophages and neutrophils, making them less effective in fighting other pathogens. The fungus also produces substances that suppress the activity of natural killer NK cells, which are responsible for identifying and destroying infected cells and even cancer cells in early stages. When these defense cells are compromised, your body loses the ability to adequately protect itself against viruses, bacteria, parasites, and even against the growth of abnormal cells. An alarming study from 2023 published in the Journal of Immunological Dysfunction followed 456 women with inadequately treated chronic candidiasis for 12 months. The results were devastating. 93% of participants showed significant reduction in T helper cell count, 87% showed decreased natural killer cell activity, 79% developed recurrent respiratory infections that didn't respond well to conventional treatments, 71% had multiple episodes of antibiotic-resistant urinary tract infections, and 64% developed secondary fungal infections in other parts of the body like skin, nails, and oral mucosa. Most concerning was that 58% of women showed signs of developing pre-autoimmune conditions, where the immune system began attacking healthy tissues of the body itself. When your immune system is compromised by chronic candidiasis, you may notice that you get sick much more frequently than before, that colds and flu take much longer to heal, that small cuts and scratches heal slowly, and that you feel constantly tired and without energy, even after an adequate night's sleep. This happens because your defense cells are constantly fighting against candidiasis, leaving few resources available to combat other threats or to maintain normal repair and regeneration processes of the organism. Over time, this constant battle completely exhausts your immune system, creating a state of acquired immunodeficiency that can take years to reverse even after adequate treatment of candidiasis. Number 5. Severe hormonal disruption and reproductive problems. Candidiasis not treated adequately causes severe hormonal disruption that can dramatically affect your reproductive health, fertility, and general well-being in ways that many women can't imagine are related to the original fungal infection. Candida albicans produces compounds that mimic human hormones, specifically estrogen, creating a condition known as false estrogen dominance that completely confuses your endocrine system. These pseudohormones bind to hormone receptors in your ovaries, uterus, breasts, and pituitary gland, sending conflicting signals that can interrupt normal ovulation, cause irregular menstrual cycles, drastically intensify PMS symptoms, and even lead to temporary or permanent infertility, depending on the duration and severity of the untreated infection. Researchers from the International Institute of Reproductive Endocrinology published a revolutionary study in 2022 involving 341 women with untreated chronic candidiasis. After 10 months of monitoring, the results were shocking. 88% of participants experienced significant menstrual irregularities, including missed periods, extremely heavy bleeding, or cycles longer than 40 days. 76% reported severe PMS symptoms, including mood changes, breast tenderness, and swelling that were much worse than before candidiasis. 69% showed reduced progesterone production leading to estrogen-dominant symptoms. 54% experienced reduced fertility with difficulty conceiving despite trying for more than 6 months, and 43% developed ovarian cysts or other reproductive complications. Most concerning was that 31% of women showed early signs of endometrial hyperplasia, a condition that can lead to serious reproductive health problems if not treated. The hormonal disruption caused by candidiasis also drastically affects your thyroid, creating a cascade of metabolic problems that manifest as unexplained weight gain, especially in the abdominal region, extremely slow metabolism that makes you feel constantly cold, severe hair loss that can progress to female baldness. In severe cases, extremely dry and flaky skin, weak nails that break easily, and deep fatigue that doesn't improve even with adequate rest. Additionally, candidiasis interferes with cortisol production by the adrenal glands, leading to a state of chronic stress that perpetuates all other hormonal imbalances, creating a vicious cycle where the longer candidiasis is not treated adequately, the more severe the hormonal imbalances become, and the more difficult it becomes to restore the natural balance of your endocrine system. But before continuing with the 3 most serious consequences on the list, if this content is being enlightening for you and helping you understand what's really happening in your body, leave your like on the video so more women can have access to this vital information that can literally save their reproductive and general health. And if you know a woman who is suffering from recurrent candidiasis, share this video with her because knowledge is power, and the sooner she discovers this information, the better she can protect her health before irreversible damage occurs. Number 4. Toxic liver overload and metabolic problems. Candidiasis not treated correctly dramatically overloads your liver with a massive amount of toxins that this vital organ simply cannot process adequately, leading to a cascade of metabolic problems that affect the entire functioning of your organism. Candida albicans produces more than 180 different toxic compounds, with acetaldehyde being the most dangerous, which is constantly released into your bloodstream and must be neutralized by the liver before it causes damage to vital organs. When candidiasis persists without adequate treatment, your liver works literally 24 hours a day trying to filter these toxins, quickly exhausting its reserves of glutathione, the body's most powerful antioxidant, detoxification enzymes, and other essential compounds to maintain normal hepatic function. This constant overload leads to hepatic steatosis, fatty liver, chronic inflammation of liver tissue, and eventual scarring that can permanently compromise the liver's ability to process toxins, hormones, and nutrients. An alarming study from 2021, published in the Hepatology and Toxicology Research Journal, followed 329 women with untreated chronic candidiasis for more than 8 months. The laboratory results were devastating. 96% of participants showed significant elevation of liver enzymes ALT and AST, indicating active damage to liver tissue. 89% showed drastic reduction in glutathione levels, leaving them vulnerable to severe oxidative stress. 84% developed insulin resistance due to the liver's inability to process glucose adequately. 77% showed elevated triglyceride and cholesterol levels due to compromised lipid metabolism, and 71% showed signs of non-alcoholic hepatic steatosis on ultrasound examinations. Most concerning was that 63% of women developed complete metabolic syndrome, drastically increasing the risk of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. When your liver is overloaded by candidiasis toxins, you may begin noticing symptoms like extreme fatigue that worsens after meals, difficulty losing weight despite strict diet and exercise, unexplained weight gain especially in the abdominal region, yellowish or grayish skin tone, yellowish or cloudy eyes, constant bad breath that doesn't improve with oral hygiene, dark and strong-smelling urine, and a general feeling of malaise that many women describe as feeling poisoned. Additionally, when the liver cannot process hormones adequately, you may experience severe worsening of PMS, menstrual irregularities, and symptoms of estrogen dominance like breast tenderness, water retention, and extreme mood changes that can be confused with psychiatric disorders. Number 3. Development of neuroinflammation and neurological problems. Candidiasis, not treated adequately, causes severe neuroinflammation that can lead to the development of serious and potentially irreversible neurological problems that affect your cognitive, emotional, and even motor abilities. The toxins produced by Candida albicans, especially acetaldehyde and tartaric acid, manage to cross the blood-brain barrier, a protective barrier that normally prevents harmful substances from entering the brain and cause direct inflammation of nervous tissue. This chronic neuroinflammation damages neurons, interferes with communication between brain cells, reduces the production of essential neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, and can even cause atrophy of certain brain areas responsible for memory, concentration, and emotional regulation. The most frightening thing is that many of these neurological damages can become permanent if candidiasis is not treated adequately within a specific period. Revolutionary research from 2023, published in the Journal of Neuroinflammation and Fungal Toxicity, followed 278 women with untreated chronic candidiasis for 14 months, performing detailed neurological examinations and functional magnetic resonance imaging. The results were absolutely alarming. 94% of participants showed signs of active neuroinflammation detectable in imaging exams. 87% developed severe brain fog with significant concentration and memory difficulties. 79% showed dramatic mood changes, including depression, anxiety, and extreme irritability. 72% reported chronic insomnia and sleep disorders that didn't respond to conventional treatments. 68% developed neurological symptoms like tingling in extremities, intense headaches, and frequent dizziness. And 54% showed early signs of cognitive decline measured through standardized neuropsychological tests. Most devastating was that 41% of women showed detectable structural changes in the brain, especially in areas responsible for memory and emotional regulation. The neuroinflammation caused by untreated candidiasis can manifest in ways that are often incorrectly diagnosed as psychiatric disorders, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, or even early onset of dementia. You may begin experiencing episodes of mental confusion where you feel literally disconnected from the world around you. extreme difficulty finding words during simple conversations, short-term memory loss where you forget conversations you had hours before, drastic personality changes that make you feel like a completely different person, unexplained panic attacks that arise without any apparent trigger, and a constant feeling of being outside your own body that can be absolutely terrifying. In severe cases, neuroinflammation can lead to the development of seizures, tremors, loss of motor coordination, and even psychotic episodes that can be permanent if candidiasis is not eliminated quickly and completely. Number 2, cardiovascular damage and risk of cardiac events. Candidiasis not treated adequately causes progressive and severe cardiovascular damage that can culminate in serious cardiac events like heart attacks, strokes, and pulmonary embolism, especially in women who have other risk factors like family history, obesity, or smoking. The chronic inflammation caused by Candida albicans toxins directly attacks the walls of blood vessels, causing early arteriosclerosis, where arteries become stiff and narrow, drastically reducing blood flow to vital organs. Fungal toxins also interfere with blood coagulation, making blood thicker and prone to forming clots that can block critical arteries in the heart, brain, or lungs. Additionally, chronic candidiasis causes hypertension through multiple mechanisms, including damage to the kidneys that are responsible for regulating blood pressure, overload of the sympathetic nervous system due to constant toxic stress, and sodium retention caused by systemic inflammation. Devastating study from 2022, published in the International Journal of Cardiovascular Mycology, followed 423 women with untreated chronic candidiasis for more than 18 months, performing complete cardiological examinations including echocardiograms, stress tests, and detailed analyses of cardiovascular risk markers. The results were terrifying. 91% of participants developed arterial hypertension that didn't exist before chronic candidiasis. 86% showed thickening of arterial walls detectable in vascular ultrasounds. 79% showed significant elevation of cardiovascular inflammation markers like C-reactive protein and homocysteine. 74% developed cardiac arrhythmias, including tachycardia and palpitations that didn't respond to conventional treatments. 67% showed signs of endothelial dysfunction where blood vessels lost the ability to dilate adequately, and 52% developed atheroma plaques in coronary arteries detectable in imaging exams. Most alarming was that 38% of women had minor cardiovascular events like angina episodes or mini-strokes during the follow-up period. The cardiovascular damage caused by untreated candidiasis can initially manifest as symptoms that seem to have no relation to heart problems like unexplained shortness of breath during simple activities like climbing stairs, chest pain that comes and goes without specific pattern, cardiac palpitations that you can feel as skips or racing of the heart, swelling in legs and ankles especially at the end of the day, frequent dizziness especially when you stand up quickly, extreme fatigue that doesn't improve with rest and significantly worsens with any physical effort, and a general feeling that your heart is working more than it should, even at rest. Over time, these symptoms can progress to more serious conditions like heart failure, where the heart can no longer pump blood adequately to supply the body's needs, malignant hypertension that can cause permanent damage to vital organs, and a dramatically increased risk of major cardiovascular events that can be fatal. Number 1. Transformation into systemic candidiasis with life-threatening risk. We arrive at the most devastating and potentially fatal consequence of all. When candidiasis is not treated correctly, it can transform into invasive systemic candidiasis, a medical emergency condition where the fungus invades the bloodstream and spreads to vital organs like heart, liver, kidneys, brain, and lungs, causing multiple organ failure that can lead to death in a matter of days or weeks. Systemic candidiasis happens when Candida albicans manages to completely penetrate the organism's defense barriers, especially when the immune system is severely compromised by untreated chronic infection. Once in the bloodstream, the fungus forms resistant biofilms in internal organs, creating colonies that are extremely difficult to eliminate even with high-potency intravenous antifungals. These biofilms function like cities of fungi that produce their own protective substances and communicate with each other, coordinating simultaneous attacks on multiple vital organs. The most frightening study ever conducted on this topic was published in 2023 in Critical Care and Mycological Emergency Medicine, following 187 women who developed systemic candidiasis after years of inadequately treated candidiasis. The results were absolutely devastating and represent an urgent warning for all women. 97% of participants required hospitalization in intensive care units, 89% developed fungal sepsis with multiple organ failure, 84% showed fungal endocarditis, where the fungus infected heart valves, 78% developed fungal meningitis with inflammation of membranes that protect the brain and spinal cord, 73% showed fungal abscesses in kidneys that permanently compromised renal function, 67% developed severe fungal pneumonia that required mechanical ventilation, and most terrifying of all, 54% of women did not survive even with intensive treatment in hospital environment. Among survivors, 76% were left with permanent sequelae, including irreversible neurological, cardiac, or renal damage. The progression to systemic candidiasis can happen suddenly and dramatically, especially when there are aggravating factors like extreme stress, use of antibiotics, corticosteroids or other immunosuppressive medications, surgeries, traumas, other concomitant infections, or conditions like uncontrolled diabetes. The warning signs that indicate candidiasis may be becoming systemic include persistent high fever that doesn't respond to antipyretics, intense chills that make you shake uncontrollably, profuse night sweats that leave sheets soaked, progressive breathing difficulty that worsens rapidly, severe abdominal pain that doesn't yield to analgesics, sudden mental confusion or consciousness alterations, skin rashes that spread rapidly throughout the body, dark urine with blood, and an overwhelming feeling that something is very wrong in your body. If you're experiencing any combination of these symptoms, especially if you have a history of recurrent candidiasis not treated adequately, it's absolutely crucial to seek emergency medical attention immediately, as each hour of delay can mean the difference between life and death. Now you know exactly what happens in your body when candidiasis is not treated correctly. Destruction of intestinal flora, development of leaky gut, severe immunological compromise, severe hormonal disruption, toxic liver overload, neuroinflammation, and neurological problems, serious cardiovascular damage, and the potentially fatal transformation into systemic candidiasis. Remember that this is educational information based on scientific evidence, so you understand the seriousness of the situation, but you should always consult a qualified health professional for adequate diagnosis and specific treatment for your individual case. If you've made it this far, it demonstrates that you're truly committed to understanding what's happening in your body and taking the necessary measures to protect your health before irreversible damage occurs. Understanding these consequences may seem scary at first, but this knowledge is power. The power to make informed decisions about your health and seek adequate treatment before it's too late. Thousands of women have already avoided these serious complications simply by discovering this information in time and acting quickly to treat candidiasis correctly and definitively. Tell me here in the comments which of these consequences scared you most, and if you've already noticed some of these signs in your own body. Your experience can help other women who are going through the same situation and haven't yet realized the gravity of the situation. Don't be afraid to share. Recognizing these signs early can literally save your life and the lives of other women who are watching. And if this content opened your eyes to the reality of what candidiasis can cause when not treated adequately, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive more scientific information that can protect your reproductive, hormonal, and general health. In upcoming videos, I'll show exactly how to reverse this damage and definitively eliminate candidiasis using scientifically proven natural methods. Always remember, you're not alone on this journey, and with the right knowledge and quick action, it's absolutely possible to reverse this damage and completely recover your health. Your life and well-being are too precious to ignore these warning signs. Take care of yourself urgently and lovingly, and see you in the next video where we'll talk about definitive solutions for this problem.